Another tense day on the Gulf. The outer bands of that oil spill expected to graze the Mississippi Delta this weekend. Strong winds are keeping the bulk of the slick out to sea, but the main focus now is a mile below the surface. That is where engineers are attempting what they call their best chance to stop the leak. And Matt Gutman is in Biloxi, Mississippi with the latest. Matt?
Good morning, Bill. And those BP engineers right now are using joysticks to guide deep-sea robots to that broken pipeline. They're going to try to insert a 6-inch tube into that 21-inch pipeline and siphon the oil back up to the surface. Now, if it works, it's very good, but it's one of the half dozen ideas that BP is working on. It sounds simple, but it can be tricky to implement. All night long, officials worked feverishly on launching Plan C. A robot is now being positioned over the leak to insert a smaller pipe into the broken end of the well pipe. If it works, a tube will suck the oil-gas mixture to a tanker on the surface. Also today, BP now has permission to spray chemical dispersants under the sea, something that it's been testing for weeks. If neither of those work, they will try a smaller version of the 100-ton containment dome that failed last week. Deployed a few days ago, this one is called Top Hat. And if all else fails, they'll try Junk Shot. That's an injection of shredded tires, knotted rope, even golf balls. They'll pump in mud and cement on top of it to plug the leaking pipeline. Officials say that could be ready by next week.
I'm not going to rest or be satisfied until the leak is stopped.
Strong words from President Obama about the lack of effectiveness in containing the oil spill. And despite BP saying this is not our accident, it appears the company's CEO, Tony Hayward, shares the president's frustration. In a statement, he said, "We absolutely understand and share President Obama's sense of urgency over the length of time this complex task is taking." BP has started drilling one of 2 relief wells, 3.5 miles below the surface, which the company says is the only way to cap the well for good. Now, BP officials say that if this siphoning works back up to the surface, it could clean up about 85% of the oil leaking from the pipeline, spelling huge relief not only to BP, but to local fishermen and, of course, the tourist industry here that relies so heavily on keeping these beaches pristine. Now, again, if it doesn't work, those relief wells are the only option, and that will take maybe until August. Bill?
Okay, Matt Gutman, but even if it does work, we wonder how much oil is really out there. No one knows for sure. BP has been saying that oil is coming out at a rate of 5,000 barrels a day, 5,000. But when this video emerged earlier in the week, scientists took a closer look, and they say they are grossly underestimating just how much crude is pumping out. We talked to one scientist at Purdue who estimates it is spewing 70,000 barrels a day. That's 14 times what BP is claiming. Scientists at Columbia University, meanwhile, say it could be as much as 100,000 barrels a day. And to put this all in perspective, the Exxon Valdez, considered the worst environmental disaster in this country's history, it spilled 250,000 barrels in total. So this disaster now in its 26th day has probably already surpassed that.